Hello and welcome. My name is George Milliken. I'm a Development Officer with the Education Scotland Digital Learning and Teaching team. In this presentation, which was prepared for a Stepping Stones Digital Pathways presentation, but it'll be useful for you in your current context as well. What I'm going to do is take you on a quick guided tour of all of the support that we offer at DigiLearn Scot. One of the first things I want you to do is take just a moment to reflect on that question there about where digital learning and teaching sits beside, apart from, or as part of good learning and teaching. Can it be one without the other? How are the two similar? How are they different? If they are similar or different, just take a wee bit of time. You could even write this down and revisit it at the end of the session and have a think about where your thinking is with regard to that. We've recently published our highly effective digital learning, teaching and assessment in Scottish schools document, which can be found on digilearn.scot, which give you again indicators of what effective digital practice will look like. It's really important that we always consider why digital literacy is so important to our children and young people, and you can see from some of the figures there, these are skills which are expected of workers in the 21st century. These are the sort of things that, certainly in my experience of working outside and even within education, I wouldn't receive training on. I'm expected to know how to use the internet. I'm expected to know how to use a mobile phone or social media. These are becoming expectations and not necessarily the type of skills and knowledge that you would be trained on. Therefore, if our learners are going to require these skills for their further education, training or work, then it's our role as teachers to provide them with those skills and knowledge and to be able to apply them when they need them. The Digital Learning and Teaching Team Education Scotland covers 4 key areas that you can see on the screen here. I've separated digital learning, teaching and assessment slightly apart from the others, and although digital literacy is required on the teacher's part for those teacher skills, we treat them separately. We class them as digital learning and teaching because it's more about the teacher's practice and how they use those digital skills, that digital literacy that the teacher has, how they use that to develop and improve and provide effective pedagogy in their practice. So that's the reason we've separated it slightly from the other 3, cyber resilience, internet safety, digital literacy and computing science, because those 3 are part of the curriculum for excellence in Scotland. So these bottom 3 are what we teach to our learners, and the top part, although we do require some digital literacy and cyber resilience for ourselves as teachers, it's a slightly separate context of how we use those skills, and that's the way we've separated it. That's the terms we'll use throughout anything from Education Scotland and from the digilearn.scot site. The digilearn.scot site focuses primarily on the digital learning and teaching. It's about teacher practice. You'll find video content there, short bite-sized clips about using particular tools and platforms, alongside full-length webinar recordings from the past 2 years. And all of those are focused again on that teacher practice. There is a section you'll see on cyber resilience and internet safety. It's got its own subsection on the site, and there is a separate computing science website that we also run, which again looks at the pedagogy, knowledge, skills and application in practice with our learners as well. But again, it's differentiated in its own site, so it's separate from the learning and teaching and digital. The one area we don't really have yet is the digital literacy section. However, we do have a document that we'll share further on that does address digital literacy, the part that you do with your learners, but it doesn't have a section on the site just yet. When I'm speaking about digital learning and teaching, and again, a lot of this is not internet dependent, but it's enabled. It's things that I could do in the physical classroom, but there is perhaps an advantage offered through digital. That might be time, it might be collaboration, and it could even be accessibility. One such example you can see here on the screen is the use of a tool called Jamboard. It's provided as part of Google Workspace. Other whiteboard tools are available. Learners were able to use this collaborative board to share their thoughts with each other, and that was really useful for them to scaffold and then develop their own thinking. This is an example of learners using digital literacy skills. For us, this is about the teacher using more effective practice with digital to allow the learners to show their thinking. As I say, this could easily be done without digital, but it's the teacher's practice which has changed here. They've provided a shared platform. This can be captured and easily reproduced as assessment evidence, and it's also allowing the learners to collaborate, so it's changing the way that this lesson might be taught. If this was just done in a jotter, there wouldn't be any collaboration there. Another such example, looking particularly about evidence again, but also allowing the learner agency and how they tackle the task. The only thing that has been asked of a learner here is to show what they know about the number 37. There's a range of examples that have been captured here are provided by the learner using digital elements. So again, the learner's using their digital literacy, but again it's about the teacher's practice here. The teacher is enabling or empowering the learner to show their knowledge, the depth and breadth, by enabling them with digital tools. So my learner could spend ages trying to draw some of this, never quite being happy about the production, the quality of what they produce, because the circles are never quite circular enough, the lines are never quite straight enough. Or perhaps we don't have access to the 10 frames and 100 squares physically in the classroom. But again, if my learner is using that, then how do I assess it? How do I see, how do I capture assessment evidence when my learner uses counters? How do I capture something that is robust that I can go back to and refer to paint a picture of my learner's progress? And by using digital, I'm easily able to capture these. These have been done on different platforms or apps, and simply by using the Windows snipping tool, or if you're on a Chromebook or iPad or a mobile, you could use screenshots to capture particular bits of evidence. My learners put them all in one slide, and again I can see a breadth of understanding here. They know in lots of different ways of representing that number. That tells me that they know, they're confident about the number bonds in creating that number. That, for me, although the learner requires some digital literacy, the real focus here is on the teacher improving their practice, making it more effective assessment by using the digital tools here. When we talk about cyber resilience and internet safety, we take a social techno systems theory approach, which means that you need both parts of it. You need the system and the person working in sync. One or the other, and the system simply won't be quite so effective. In our experience, most educators focused on internet safety. It's the bit that gets in the news, it's the bit that we hear the most about, it's about the person. So that is cyberbullying, grooming, use of offensive or harmful language online. And on the other side of that, what we have is cyber resilience. Now, cyber resilience speaks to internet dependent issues. So it's about the device, it's about the platform or the system that you're using. And to that, we want learners to know how to set devices and platforms up safely and securely that reduce the risk of harm to the device or the platform, such as hacking or malware, things that can only affect the device. Further to that, there are some cyber resilience steps that learners can take in setting up a device and account more securely, more safely, can reduce some of the impacts of internet safety, risks and harms. For example, by understanding how your social media platform works, knowing the options and settings that are available to them, they can change some of those settings, and that can help them have greater control over who contacts them or the content that they see. With internet safety, again, we've talked about the person and their behaviour, and that can be really difficult to change. There are some black and white steps we can take for cyber resilience, but internet safety is dependent on the person's behaviour, and that can be much, much tougher to change or influence. Therefore, what you'll find on our teacher toolkit on digilearn.scot, there's more of a focus on questions around internet safety, asking learners about their behaviour and if they think it's safe, smart and kind, and how they could make it more safe, smart and kind. And that's the approach we take. Overarching all of this, we want you to focus when you talk to children and young people about what they consume, what they create and what they communicate, because that's the three behaviours we see online. And again, we can look at cyber resilience and internet safety through the lens of consumption, creation or communication, and you'll find more information about that on digilearn.scot. With regards to digital literacy, what we currently offer on the digilearn.scot site and the Education Scotland site is a document called What Digital Learning Might Look Like. And this simply takes each of the digital literacy and computing science experiences and outcomes from early to second level currently, and provides examples of activities. There's no progression or assessment information, no benchmarks associated with it. It simply is an example of an activity that you could be doing with your learners between early and second level to get you started with digital activities for digital literacy and computing science. The last part is perhaps the most specialised. Computing science is not a part of digital literacy. It sits as a separate organiser within the technologies and curriculum for excellence. And there are three parts that make up computing science. There is computational thinking, which is about understanding the steps required to solve problems. There is then two parts which are related to coding and understanding how code manages and controls a machine. And again, that's making links from computational thinking to break down and solve a problem, and then learners will eventually develop the skills and knowledge to use code to solve those problems. The other part of that is understanding how computer systems work, which is really important for learning to code, to understand how and why code is required, and again how it manages and manipulates the computer system to solve those problems. And the third part to that computing science curriculum is about design challenges, about setting a challenge that your learners need to respond to using their knowledge of computational thinking, coding and computer systems. And it's almost a window to assess their knowledge and skills through an application. You might ask them a challenge: how could we do such and such a thing with computing as a solution? And that's how we would set the context for that learning. Every school in Scotland has been provided with microbit microcomputers, which can be used to design and implement that solution. So that is a brief outline of everything that we offer from our team, and particularly on our digilearn.scot site. What we hope you're able to do is pick an area to specialise in and develop that. Let us know how we can support you with that. You can attend different courses and view different content online. I look forward to supporting you with that.